Tonight, in the Alfred Hospital's intensive care unit.
Christy, can you open your eyes for me?
The important thing at the moment is to keep the pressure down in her brain.
The signs were never there that we should give up.
Lord, as Christy sleeps, give her peace.
David developed a thunderclap headaches.
A bit delicate because you don't want to rupture the aneurysm.
There's some blood free in the brain.
You kind of know when it's like life-threatening, don't you?
Margaret, she required a cardiac transplant.
As you know, she can go either way.
We look to see if there are any abnormal cells near a sign of rejection.
The sickest patients, the most advanced technology, medical care second to none. It's always a matter of life or death. Last time on ICU, we met 19-year-old Christy, who was brought into the trauma pod after a shocking car accident. Christy was the passenger in a car that was T-boned at high speed. There were no side airbags, and the impact was massive. She has broken bones in her feet, both legs, and her pelvis. Christy's broken ribs have punctured her lungs, and she has fractures in her skull and severe bruising in her brain.
The most important thing at the moment is to keep the pressure down in her brain so she doesn't have any permanent brain damage.
The bruising in Christy's brain is life-threatening, as her brain keeps swelling and there's nowhere for it to go.
If the pressures in the brain go up, that's okay if they go up for a very short period and then come down, but if they go up and actually stay up, then that causes permanent damage to the brain and can impair the blood supply to the brain and potentially could cause her to die.
But while she's got a chance, the ICU team will keep fighting for Christy. They've put a pressure release drain into her skull, and she's been lying on a cooling pad which can also help ease the pressure. 2 days ago, doctors removed part of Christy's skull in order to give her brain more space to swell. But even with the skull removed, Christy's brain continued to swell.
We're trying to get another CT today just to see if we've got black brain.
After 2 tumultuous weeks, Christy's been sent for another CAT scan because the ICU team needs to know if she's got any kind of future. And now, the scans are back.
The rest of it looks pretty stable, doesn't it?
Yeah, let's not get so.
I don't think she needs any further surgery at the moment. It's certainly not severe enough to evacuate. I think we should leave her alone.
There's some hope. Christy's brain is not yet too damaged by all the swelling.
It just all means to me that we have to hang in there and keep going.
It would be rash to say that the CT reassures me that she's going to get better, because it doesn't. It gives us enough information to know that we need to carry on doing what we're doing at the moment. But I'm glad that we're not having to sit down with her family and talk about worse things right at the moment.
I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. This has been 2 weeks of hell, and now we're starting the 3rd week.
Drain still at 0 centimetres.
The team will keep fighting for Christy, but only time will tell what her future will be. In the cardiothoracic pod, the surgical team is handing over Margaret, who's just had a heart transplant.
Okay. She's got classic end-stage dilated cardiomyopathy.
Margaret's old heart had cardiomyopathy. It was weak and enlarged and unable to pump blood efficiently. Without a transplant, Margaret would have died. But even now, her future's uncertain.
But it's really quite tenuous. She's just sitting right. But, you know, as you know, she can go either way relatively quickly.
She's intubated and we're supporting her breathing. She's on medication to support her heart. And the noise in the background as well is there's a balloon pump which is also trying to support the heart and the flow through the coronary arteries.
Margaret's new heart isn't beating strongly enough to keep her alive, so an extra pump has been inserted into her artery to give the circulation a boost. The balloon pump is only a temporary support. Doctors are hoping that given time, Margaret's new heart will recover from the shock of transplant and work properly.
Sarah, Taryn, daughter-in-law, and son.
Margaret's whole family made the midnight dash from Bairnsdale in country Victoria to support her.
Hold on to her hand under there if you want, guys. Get emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's had cardiomyopathy for 16 years. And she's done very well on medication up until the last 2. And she's took a real, downhill run. It just come time for transplant, and she's lucky enough to get one. Magic, I think.
So she's been on the list for long, the transplant list?
Only
5 or 6 weeks,
nearly 6 weeks.
Pretty good. Must have right match and right size and everything like that. Very lucky.
I suppose this time we feel like we're really making a step forward.
But Margaret's not safe yet. She's got a pump supporting her new heart, and there's still the risk of infection and rejection.
Open your eyes.
In the general pod, the team is caring for David, who came to hospital with a splitting headache that turned out to be a life-threatening brain aneurysm.
It just happened so quickly. I was kind of thinking it was a stroke or maybe something to do with blood sugar levels. But you kind of know when it's serious, like life-threatening, don't you?
An aneurysm is like a blister on a blood vessel. It's a weak spot that can bleed at any time.
Well, the headaches you get with this sort of problem are often so severe that it's impossible to ignore them. They don't get better by taking Panadols. They don't go away with time. They don't fluctuate. You just have this terrible headache. And when you end up going to hospital and they do the right test, they find that there's some blood around free in the brain where it shouldn't be. If this aneurysm is not clipped, it will continue to bleed. And if he has a large bleed, it can be fatal.
That's a risk the team can't take. Instead, David is about to have a remarkable high-tech procedure that could save his life without the risks of brain surgery. In the Alfred's intensive care unit, it's been 15 days since Christy's accident, and the swelling in her brain is finally starting to go down.
But let's just see where we're going. It's about as good as we can hope for, isn't it?
It's been a good afternoon, eh?
Yeah.
Best in a while, so...
Yeah, best afternoon for the whole week.
And when her family comes to visit, David can share some good news for a change.
Knowing how worried we were, and I mean, she's not out of the woods by any means.
Yeah.
You know, she's still really, really sick, but this is a step in the right direction, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
A bit more of this.
It's better than before.
Yeah.
Now that Christy is stable, it's safe for surgeons to repair her broken bones.
X-ray plans. It's nice to see that she's improved enough to have her reconstruction surgery, that's for sure. Unfortunately, I guess I realise that she's got a long way to go still to make a full recovery.
Christy is young, and her body will heal.
Can I have a look in your eyes for a moment?
The ICU team is hoping that all their work has reduced any permanent damage to her brain. But they won't know for sure until she wakes up.
Christy, can you open your eyes for me? Christy, can you open your eyes for me?
In the cardiothoracic pod, it's day 2 after Margaret's heart transplant.
Margaret's doing very well this morning. She's been awake. Her balloon pump's been turned down now to a very low level of support. All her cardiac figures are looking quite reasonable, so we're pretty confident we'll be able to get the balloon pump out. It's like a large intravenous catheter, really, with the balloon. Once it's turned off, the balloon will deflate itself. So once the balloon's deflated, we just literally pull it out.
Now that the mechanical support has been withdrawn, Margaret's new heart has to do all the work.
Just having a look at your blood pressure at the moment. It's just dropped a little bit.
The next 24 hours will be critical. In the angiography suite, David's bleeding aneurysm is about to be plugged up from the inside. This procedure is so innovative, it's only done in a few hospitals in Australia.
The purpose is to fill the aneurysm from inside with something that will make the blood clot and thus no flow of blood in that aneurysm.
To achieve this, Anoop inserts a catheter into David's groin and directs it up via his femoral artery into his brain.
So now this little dot is the catheter inside the aneurysm. So this is the coil here.
Now, the first coil will follow the catheter into the core of the bleeding aneurysm.
It's a bit delicate because you don't want to rupture the aneurysm and you don't want the coils to block off any main artery, which would give a devastating stroke.
It takes a steady hand, but Anoop finds his mark.
The coil's going in, the 3D coil, it's forming a basket. Now we're filling the basket from inside. You can see this is the coils are nice and compact inside the aneurysm. And then we let in the dye to see whether there's any dye entering this aneurysm. And you can see that there is no dye entering the aneurysm. The artery comes, splits into two, and the aneurysm has been excluded from the circulation. So this cannot bleed anymore.
It looks like a great result. The coil is doing its job, and David has avoided risky brain surgery.
There she is. Can you see your mum?
Christy has been in intensive care for 4 weeks, and her body is beginning to recover.
They've taken her off the ventilator and she's breathing by herself. So, yeah, just all these little things, little steps. We're being positive.
Christy's now eye-opening and looking around, but not really fixing on people and not really following people with her eyes. She's woken up a bit, but she's not really with us. But the really big question is how much improvement she will have, whether she will go on and make a full or near full recovery.
The doctors are worried Christy's outcome won't be good, but they can't be sure. So they're giving her every chance. And when Professor Rosenfeld checks Christy's latest scans, the results are encouraging.
This part here, the brain stem, which is the part that gives her her conscious state, looks pretty healthy. That's good news. But still a long way to go.
That's for sure.
It's a long journey. We're sort of just moving ahead slowly. That's the main thing. We're not going backwards, we're going forwards. That's what we want to see.
Just things take time, and they have.
Four days after her heart transplant, Margaret's making a textbook recovery.
You're doing really well. Yeah, really pleased. You can't believe that, by that day 2, she was just having Panadol for any pain.
Doing very well.
Yeah, no, I'm really
Got more colour than before?
I haven't seen the colour yet.
Oh, you better get a mirror and have a look.
Yeah.
Pretty darn good, mate. Real darn good.
The next big hurdle is rejection.
See what the biopsy shows.
Margaret is going for the first of many biopsies.
What we look at is we look at the integrity of the heart muscle, and we look to see if there are any abnormal cells indicating inflammation in the heart muscle, and they're a sign of rejection. And essentially, we put a tube into a vein and we'll snip small sort of pinhead-sized samples of the heart muscle. And once we've done that, that'll be sent to pathology. We'll get an answer this afternoon whether that's acceptable or not acceptable. If there is any evidence of rejection, we'll modify her treatment.
Awesome. You are off to the ward, Margaret.
Margaret's well enough to go to the ward, but she'll have to have regular biopsies for the next 12 months before she's really in the clear.
How you doing? Fabulous. Well, that's good to hear.
It's been 5 days since David had his brain aneurysm treated using a state-of-the-art coiling technique.
I remember stopping at dusk. I couldn't see where I was going. I couldn't pick up my mobile phone. I couldn't dial it. It was too heavy for me. You know, I could not see. I had this headache.
Yeah.
And everything was floating.
Yeah.
And I was out where the buses don't run.
He's had a rough time, and he's actually come through with flying colours. He's awake, he's alert, he's breathing himself. It's always good when you come around and see somebody actually reading the paper in ICU. It's one of the really positive signs.
"14 days after her heart transplant, Margaret is still going strong.
I had my second biopsy done yesterday and that was still good. So, yeah, no, they're very pleased with the way things are going. Started my gym classes and that seems to be going okay. Certainly now I've got some muscles there that I forgot I had.
Margaret's doing so well, she's being discharged from hospital today.
It's really, really nice. Just going to an apartment for 3 months because I have to stay in Melbourne for 3 months, but that's okay.
It's 5 weeks since Christy's accident.
You're looking better than you were last week.
Oh.
Don't know that look.
Yeah, right. It's just, she's bounced back so quickly and I just can't believe it's happened so quickly. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I'm really delighted because there is so much pessimism around about young people with severe brain injuries. You know, what are we doing, you know, doing all this treatment for them when they're going to end up as a total disaster? We can say that on some of them, but I couldn't say that with Christy because the signs were never there that we should give up. And I felt that we should, and so did the ICU doctors felt that we should continue. Even though it came very close, we could have given up and she wouldn't be here now. Like when I took her back to the operating theatre to take that bone off, if I hadn't have done that, I think she would have died.
Words can't express what I feel at the moment. We were prepared for the worst, and I'm over the moon. What the wonderful people here have done, giving me Christy back, and that's just words can't express. It's amazing.
See you guys. Bye.
After 6 weeks in the Alfred's ICU, Christy's ready to go to the ward.
Christy's just about to start a new journey of rehab, learning to walk and learning to eat and learning to talk. Everything, every day is going to be new for her. It's going to be the start of a whole new big journey for her.
Even though her mum's optimistic, Christy's journey will continue to be difficult. Statistically, only half of the people who survive a major head injury are able to lead independent lives.
See ya. See ya. Bye.
7 weeks after David's brain aneurysm, he's back to his old self, with a few notable changes.
I think I'm a lot more mellow. I'm gentler, I think, and I'm getting up early in the morning. You know, my short-term memory is not sometimes that fabulous. Long-term is good. Short-term, I'll be doing something, I'll turn around. What was I going to do? What was I going to do? Stop and think, and then I go.
But every day is getting stronger and, you know, very much better. It's incredible.
It's now 5.5 months since Christy left the Alfred's intensive care unit, and 7 months since the accident that nearly took her life.
I look back at that night of the accident and would never have thought 7 months down the track that she would be at this point. 7 months more, hopefully she'll be even better.
I'm doing pretty well. I mean, considering what happened in the start, I think I'm doing pretty good. Well, I have a terrible memory now from the accident, and I don't know, I can't do a lot of things that I want to do. I mean, I want to do things like play footy with my brothers again and walk around without a crutch and stuff, but I can't do that just yet. But no, I mean, my personality and that's still the same. So,
That's good.
7 months ago, the doctors at the Alfred said to prepare yourself for the worst. And I was worried about what I was going to say at Christy's funeral. But here we are 7 months later. She made a good recovery. She's still got a long way to go. And I was lucky enough 3 weeks ago to say a few words at her 20th birthday. So I'm over the moon with just having the family back in one piece and together. And the wonderful people at the Alfred Hospital. I can't thank them enough. Without them, Christy wouldn't be here. And all we can do is move forward. Wonderful job, Christy.
It's not right, is it? That's good.
It's Mum, love.
It's better.
We're very, very proud of you.
Look at his heart beating off. He has a heartbeat back.
Oh, Jacob. Hello, buddy.
Staff here, we're just so much admiration for them.